Hail, hail, the Celts are here, and what the hell do we care now? It's another opportunity missed in Europe for the second match day in a row. We're here again for the Flagship podcast. I'm Quinny. I'm joined, as ever, by Josh. Good to see you, mate. Hail, hail.
Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to be back in the podcast. Obviously, got a lot to get through. I think scunnered is the ideal word to sum up how we're probably all feeling right now. But it's another Champions League disappointment. But we'll get through it, I'm sure, throughout this podcast. But good to be back on.
Yeah, good to see you, mate. And back on again as well, we've got Matthew. Matt, good to see you, mate. Hail, hail.
Hail, hail. Thanks for having me on, guys. Yeah, echo Josh's sentiments. I wish I was coming on in a more positive, upbeat manner after the game, but listen, we go again.
Yeah, it was a tough one for sure. And, we had, a wee bit of drama at the weekend, last minute winner needed to put Motherwell away. And we thought coming into this game, Palma come off the bench, scores the winner. We expect him to start, but it's probably the only surprise in the starting 11 that kind of, put a lot of people off balance maybe at all before the game, seeing Yang in, because Yang has had considerable minutes so far this season since Abada's been injured, and he's not really delivered. So I think that did catch a lot of people off that, given Palma just put the game winner away at the weekend, he wasn't on to start. When you seen the team sheet, how did you guys feel about it going into the game?
I was a bit surprised. Obviously with the Yang start, he was subbed off at the weekend rather against Motherwell, subbed off at half time for James Forrest. So I think with that, it would indicate he wasn't going to start the game against Lazio. But you seen the team sheet, he gets the nod. There's a couple of rumours and people hoping Carl Vickers was going to start the game, but obviously he was only fit enough for the bench. But yeah, Yang, I wasn't too impressed by him again. It seems like for me his issue is the end product and the final pass, getting his cross in. And then you bring on Louis Palma and he does exactly what I was going to say exactly what he done at the weekend, but he made a good impact in the game in my opinion. Had looked to take on his man. He's not the type of guy that's going to drop a shoulder and run or make runs in behind for you. In my opinion, he's more the guy who will look to take on his man and cut inside and create and make something happen. I think that was evident with the disallowed goal where he takes the ball and just cuts inside and puts it in that near post. But I wasn't too impressed with Yang, but I think the rest of the team, majority of players done pretty well. I think Rio Hatate though wasn't too good in my opinion. Matt Riley had a good game though. Kyogo was brilliant. And Callum Gregor, I think, was really good in the midfield. And Liam Scales, once again, we've seen what he can do at centre back. He got called up for Ireland today, so really good to see him on a upturn of form and doing really well in the Champions League. But overall, the team done well, and there weren't many surprises apart from that Yang start.
Yeah, I agree. I think that position is giving us a little bit of a problem. I think it was evident last night, that lack of quality on the wings in terms of taking the ball and being able to make stuff happen like Jota used to do for us, and to an extent Abada. I think there is a little problem there on that side. Yang, I was surprised given Palmer's impact that he didn't start. Very industrious. He doesn't shy away, Yang. He wants the ball. He wants to do something good. The final ball was just missing, and the positive to take from last night was Palmer coming on, and I think he just started to show a glimpse of perhaps what he's got in his locker, and I think he deserves to obviously get a start come Saturday.
Yeah, it's a bit of a funny one. Like you're quite right, Matt. I noticed it quite a lot especially the first half. It felt like Yang was on the ball all the time. We were always looking to put Yang on the ball, and it did feel maybe it was a wee bit of a tactical play for us as well, because their right back, he was a flying machine. Like he could just his acceleration. I don't play FIFA or whatever it's called, but I'm pretty sure if you look at him on that, his acceleration will probably be like 99 out of 100 or something. The guy just lifted off at times. So I can see why we're trying to get Yang on it, but he just couldn't get by him. He couldn't get by anyone. I mean, he stood up 1v1. I never see him go by anyone and leaving somebody for dust like Jota would, actually beat somebody on the dribble. And even when he does slide a little pass in, it's like the wrong one. I always think he plays actually a really nice pass, but it's to nobody, or it's, just not on, or whatever it is. It's, so I feel really frustrated for him. And, I've seen a few players like that over the last couple of years, and see if he can kind of make that little jump. I think he could be a top drawer. I think he could be really, really good, because he kind of looked the part, for the he was strong enough, he was capable, he never lost control of it, really for the most part, and I think it was quite frustrating that it never came to more, But with Palma, do you know, like, I'm kind of jury's out on him, you know, for like from when we've signed him to really now. And in the game, like, I don't know, see when he first came on, like, it felt like he didn't want to run at all, you know. So he was getting on the ball around the halfway line, and then he was like giving it to Tate, and we were having to move the ball all the way around the pitch. So then he could get up the pitch 10, 15 yards, and then we'll go and find you again when you're a bit higher up. And when we've used like Yang about 2 weeks ago, and I think Palma, not when he scored the time he played before, when you can't use a player in possession properly like that, like, what good are they really? You know, it really does become a bit of a problem. So I'm still quite jury's out on Palma. I don't really know what to think of him after that game. He done, you know, when he scores the goal, he's covering some yards, and there was a wee press moment he had where he jumped up onto the defence into the 18-yard box and he covered some ground quickly. But I don't know. It's just I'm still kind of jury's out on him. I don't know what to. I don't get him. You know, still.
He needs a run of games. We need to have somebody in that position, a run of games, because I do think in that left hand side, it's not, nobody's grabbed that jersey yet from Jota. I think he deserves his chance on Saturday. I liked a couple of things that he done. I get what you're saying. I think he's never going to run past two players with pace. He seems to have really good close control. There was one thing he done where he took it and pinged it. He pinged it, he opened the play up and he pinged it to Dyson. I don't know if that was the one where Dyson done a Dyson and trapped it well and then knocked the ball out the park. But I liked that he done something a bit different and he seemed to come on and have a bit about him. So I just want to see that now progress week by week. I think Yang's had an opportunity and I'd like to see Palmer get his chance because I think he can do something slightly different to what Yang can.
I would agree with the point in Palmer getting around the games. I think he needs that. Like you said, Yang's got his opportunity to do that, and he's started in probably one of our biggest games so far this season. And honestly, it's probably the biggest game of his career. Yanks, he's still only 21 years of age. As much as we can criticise him and things like that, like he's still got a lot of time to develop, and I feel like he can develop into a good player for Celtic eventually once he gets that final ball and a final pass well and on mark and up to the standards. So once he gets that, I think he can be a good player for us. But at the minute, I'd agree Palmer's probably ahead of him now in the pecking order, and it's got to be him, Maeda and Kyogo. I think the only thing when you're starting Palmer, he does play in the left. You're sacrificing putting Maeda on the right. That's the only thing. But I guess when Maeda's putting crosses in, he's usually doing it from the left. He's putting them in on his left foot. That's not his strongest foot, and I think that's evident in some of the cross balls he does put in. Whereas if you do shift Dyson out to the right, it's on his stronger foot, and he can put a decent cross or two in. But I thought it was Maeda, it was Johnson who put the ball in for Palmer's disallowed goal. But yeah, I feel like Palmer does deserve the run of games, and I think he should get it. I think Kilmarnock at home this weekend is the ideal opportunity for him to come into the team and put in a performance where he can score a goal or two.
Yeah, because if Kilmarnock are just going to give us the pitch, then he could just get standing on the edge of the box, and then we could just try and find them. Yeah. Because like that pass, Matt, was like Luis Alberto. He played like 4 or 5 of them. Yeah. Palma played one, and it was brilliant. And I think he played that pass, and there was something else that happened. It might have even been that, but something happened not long after he came on, and you seen he got a wee bit of right. Okay, I'm in the game, and that led eventually to also his shot. And I think he does need to rise. He does also need to rise the level, and a run of games is definitely going to help him do that. So, yeah, we'll see how that pans out. We mentioned Scales there as well. Really pleased to hear he's had a call up. And again, like Scales felt very much on the level. Like he wasn't out of his depth. He wasn't able to, or he wasn't unable to cope with very pacey, very creative attackers coming in off the wing, as well as a really key target man in the middle as well. So I think that, Scales did fantastic in this game. But I do think, I love the big man. I do think he's getting a little bit maybe too much praise for this game. There was a few times where he was in the nosebleeds a wee bit, where he's maybe just made a bit of a panic pass, or even a few of the times when he's came across, read the game brilliantly, and smashed it out for a throw in or just snuffed it out. The amount of times he's able to do that, he's making like clean contact. He's making unchallenged clean contact. 3 or 4 occasions, you've got to be able to kill that and control it rather than just legging it, So I love him. I think he's done great. But I think people are saying he's done an 8 or a 9. And I think it's maybe more like a 7,
I feel like, yeah, the ones where he came across and the balls were played over the top, and obviously Taylor's high up the park, and he's coming in to cover. I would probably agree with you on that. As much as I was probably up standing and cheering when he put in the tackles and they went into the crowd, I think everyone loves a bit of that. But they probably could have maybe took the ball, put his back to the man and played it back to Joe Hart, and we start for there.
Even just once.
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah, definitely. Instead of like conceding the throw in, hence Lazio get to push up and things like that. But I
Kind
do
of
think
kind of difficult one. I think though is if he does that once and it doesn't work, we all know
Yeah.
what it can be like when that happens. We've seen how many defenders over the years try things, make mistakes. I think he is a bit of a throwback, defence first. And maybe at that level, you're thinking, he's thinking, I need to defend first. Because I do agree, listen, I think we need to kind of keep playing this guy while he's on a crest of a wave.
Yeah.
I think he's playing the football of his career. This might be his peak. We might have got this boy at his peak. And I think we just need to keep playing him, keep coaching him. Dare I say, you know, a little bit like what when Brendan put the faith in Jack Hendry, he kind of plopped him in there, and you know he's not going to mazy runs at Far Hill like Hendry did, but you know I think we need to just play this guy and not until he makes a mistake. Listen, you just never know what he's capable of doing. I actually thought for me personally it was a standout last night. I thought he was excellent because he didn't look phased, like you said. He felt. You know, there was a couple of times when he made that challenge, I think it was after it, even about 3-4 seconds later, the camera was on him. He had a wee smile on his face. He enjoyed that, you know, and I think he rose to the occasion. And I think with Carter Vickers coming back to full fitness, I think that's who you'll see on Saturday, is the two of them. And he's left-footed, he's natural, he doesn't seem phased. I think we just need he's raw. His distribution could be better, but I think when you see the stats today, his middle to forward third passing was actually pretty good. So I think we just keep playing the guy until potentially Narovski comes back and he's maybe earmarked for there over Lagerbielka. It's good to see a young guy getting his chance and actually taking it for a change, you know.
Yeah, I wrote a piece for the site a couple of. I think it was after. I can't remember what game it was after. I think it was after. Maybe in the Rangers game. Till it was the Livingston game. So it was after the Livingston game. I wrote like Liam Scales is undroppable at the minute. You can't take him out of the team. Let a player on that amount of great form. It would be very, very harsh to drop him. And obviously Brendan's kept the faith of him and continued to play him, and it's worked in our favour. There are some parts of his game he could develop. I would agree with that. But at the same time, like you said, when he's on this type of form, you can't drop a player like that. The job of a defender is to defend. If an attack, and the job of an attacker is to attack. So if let's just say Daisen Maeda's on a run of 3 goals in 3 games, you're never going to drop him. Liam Scales at the back, if he's on a defensive run the way he is, keeping solid, not making mistakes, and doing well for himself, and I think it would be harsh to drop him. So he probably does continue to start for me. And as well, I've mentioned it a couple of times. I think we've continually said that Quinny, him with the left foot, allows the playing out for the back to be much more easier. As much as it may be tough to do so in Europe, but allows Taylor to come inside and Scales to take the ball with his left foot out there. But he did. I think there was a couple of openings in the first half where he kind of dribbled a bit and then into like the semicircle or just inside the Lazio half, and he was like, "Oh, here we go. What do I do?" But he's inexperienced at that level for us. So he is taking it in stride. He's doing really well week by week, and we've been impressed by him. He's not a player like coming into pre-season when Brendan Rodgers comes back in charge. Someone told you Liam Scales has started your first 2 Champions League games and he's not been poor. He's done well and he's done the fans proud and he's done himself proud. I don't think anyone would believe you, but it's testament to him. It's testament to his character. And he's in a really good run of form. I'm very pleased for him because he is a Celtic man. Like you said, you see him smiling after he made that tackle. He'd have loved that moment. And I think just when he was very unlucky when he'd done the bicycle kick as well in the second half. I'm sure Celtic Park would have absolutely erupted if that went in. And he would have loved it. But
imagine, yeah. Totally. And I think like any criticism, any mild, very minor criticism you could level at Scales after the game, like I don't think there's a Celtic fan out there that doesn't have any confidence that he'll be better after this game. You know, it's only like we're all talking about, it's a crest of a wave. He's on an upward trajectory, and like he's only going to take he's going to get another foot taller after this game. We've seen it from the team last year after the home results, in particular, and after like good spells of passages of play. Because that's all we got last year. It's maybe all we're going to get this year as well, rather than any actual points. But you've seen individual players like kind of gaining from it in different moments, and I think last night was definitely a big one there for Scales as well. But yeah, like I think overall, like I was really impressed with the midfield. Because when you're coming against teams like Lazio, we'll see what Atletico Madrid is like as well. But really, in the games that I've seen Celtic play and a bunch of other teams, where you can really just get bullied off the park and it's like a no contest situation is midfield. If you can't get on the ball, if you can't control it, if you can't move it from back to front or left to right or whatever it is you're trying to do at the time, then you're dead in the water kind of thing. And I know it's part of how they played as well a little bit, but we dominated midfield. Like we did what we wanted for the majority of the game. And that was really pleasing to see. And I think Matt O'Reilly was kind of the one that led that above, there were some of the parts, they all played fantastic, I think, in terms of the midfield effort. But I think O'Reilly it was a big game for him also.
Definitely. I think Matt O'Reilly has been one of, if not our best player this season. Danish midfielder, been absolutely sensational. He got the assist last night for Kyogo's goal. First time pass when Maeda plays it into him. It was a great return ball, and he continues to go from strength to strength. I feel like Cal McGregor was good as well last night. He covered the yards, won balls in midfield, but I don't think Rio Hatate was too good. I don't know if he's been at the same standard as he has done since he signed that new contract, at least in my opinion. I don't know what you guys think, but Paolo Bernardo came on for him. I was quite impressed by Bernardo, not as much as I was Palma, but I think he didn't do himself any wrongs. Was accurate in his passing, just flashed one wide of the post. So I think he was unlucky as well, and he brings something different to what Hatate does. He's more of a taller, physical presence in that midfield than what Rio or someone like Odin Thiago Home will give you. So looking forward to seeing how he gets on. Obviously, we've got an option to buy on him. But yeah, the midfield did do well as a whole, as a group. They didn't you could use the term overrun, but I feel like we enjoyed some great spells with them, some good combinations, and it was just unfortunate in the end that couldn't get a result that the midfield's performance and overall the whole team's performance is merited.
Yeah, I thought the Hatate ones, it's got me thinking a wee bit today. I think we all agree that it's great that he's signed a contract and we absolutely love him. But my own theory a little bit behind Hatate is, you've seen obviously the first few games he wasn't even getting a sniff in. I don't know whether that was down to the noise around the transfer or as I say, Brendan kind of mentioned a couple of times about the way he wants him to play, and he kind of commented about that. My own theory around about Rio a wee bit is, I think although under Ange it was Ange ball, it was all go, and of course there was a structure. I think he almost gave Hatate a little bit of freedom. I think he trusted Hatate. He's obviously a huge fan of him and brought him over. And I think at times when you've seen Hatate play to the level that we think this guy's not going to be with us for long, the shackles were off on him. He's allowed to go and play. He's allowed to be free, and you've seen that in the games against them. And 3-0, it was Lubo-esque, appearance in the 5-1 game. He just stood head and shoulders above everybody else. There's games where he single-handedly took it by the scruff of the neck and won his games, and that's because he just pops up in places in the park that he wants to go to. And I think maybe under Brendan, it's quite structured, and he's having to fit into that triangle with O'Reilly and McGregor. And I think he's just finding his way. He's having to change his game. Personally, I would love to see him released a bit more and just allow him to go and have the freedom to do what he thinks is right for the team. Because that's when you'll see the best of him. He misplaced a few passes. He looked as if he was a little bit lost at times, and then all of a sudden he would pop up in a place 1-2s and he would drive on, and that's what we want to see from him. So I'd like to see him just be released a little bit more and trusted to go and do the things that's lit up the team when he's been in it, and hopefully it's just a little bit of rustiness, getting back to full fitness, and we can start to see the best of him, certainly at that level anyway, where he thinks he should be playing.
Yeah, it was like he was bulletproof under Ange. Like we knew if he was fit, he was playing, and he didn't really have much threat of being dropped. But equally, like a big frustration of Hatate at his best under Ange was that he was wasteful. That he could just fall asleep for 10 minutes and he'd somebody would pick his pocket in possession, you know, or he would just play a couple of crap passes and seem to not care. And there wouldn't be any real, like, you know, Ange wouldn't be answering questions about it. People wouldn't ask, you know, it wouldn't be discussed or anything, because like you say, Matt, like, it's like that's the deal that Ange has done, is like, I'm going to get that, but he's going to do everything else because of that kind of freedom. And Brendan, yeah, he's definitely made those quotes recently about wanting more control and not flying by the seat of your pants, etc. So I think that definitely stems into what you're saying there, mate. So I think you're onto it there. I do think as well, but there's a wee bit of minute management on the go with Hatate. Again, if you look at the wee injury he's had, and then his recovery since, like, it's just been gradual, you know, off the bench, 2 games at 60, 2 games at 70, and then there's a wee international break coming now. So you know, and I don't know if you've seen a close up of him as well, but I'm not even sure he had full vision in both eyes. Man. So I don't think he played great, but I definitely don't think like, he was on the ball a lot. I think he played a lot of you know, balls that were on, but I just don't think ultimately we had enough to really, because again, when you're going to play this control system, this possession control, we need to get more touches in the box. We need to get more shots on target. You know, that's how these systems actually kill teams. You know, it's not by, because we are trying to beat teams on, I didn't even know off the top of my head how many shots we had last night or whatever, but it's not going to be that many. I can tell you that for free. And, you know, these possession teams will get 18 shots, you know, and maybe only 8 are on target and they score 2 or 3. That's the way it goes. But with the amount of shots on target we get, you'd think we were a counter-attack team, or we were, you know, a set-piece team or something like that. And that's the way we were playing. But it's not. It's the opposite. So it's, you know, so I think Hatate done a little bit enough, but I think it's more of a, I don't know, it's maybe more of a team, just a wee bit of quality effort. You know, because I say Yang, a lot went down that way and it didn't amount to much, you know, and it was like everything was going to Yang. And I got a wee bit of a feeling that maybe part of that was, let's not pressure on Dyson to deliver anything. Let's just get Dyson into the box alongside Kyogo a little bit, and let's just have him more as a secondary striker. Let's go left and let's go and double striker in behind the winger, as it were. And I just don't think enough actually happened. We never actually got enough chances to do more in the match, because the goal was brilliant. And if you could do kind of the sequence of play for the goal another 2 or 3 times in the game, we win that.
Yeah, I think Dyson starting the right was a surprise, because when Yang started, certainly when it was the Dundee game, he started on the right and Dyson was on the left, and they've not done, certainly never done it last night, what we've used to see with Jota and Maida, and the back was the switch over. We've not seen that, so I was quite surprised when I seen that. But I actually thought he'd done okay there. I actually thought he was a different threat. There was a couple of times where he got the ball and you're kind of saying, I mean, for the goal he came inside, so that you know, that disproves my kind of theory a little bit, because he done brilliant for it. But I would like to see him going outside a few more times, because Josh, you mentioned it earlier. If Dyson gets past you, it's hard to catch him. But if he gets past you and swings a left foot at it, 9 times out of 10 it's going at the park, right? So if he's swinging a right at it, there's an opportunity. The ball's getting kept in play. It's in the box for Kyogo, which he loves, those cutbacks and across the 6-yard line. I think, you know, I was thinking about Didier Regat in his prime in Champions League. How many times did we used to see him just touch and go, and he was away, and defenders didn't know how to deal with it. So I think it was a great move to put him on the right, but I would then like to see him go on the outside like he does when he's on the left. He'll go on the outside with a less frequent sort of finishing product. So that might be something to try, I think, now again with Palmer on the left-hand side, because he clearly likes that left-hand side coming in. And I think, you know, Dyson on the right, and if we can get Palmer or somebody up in that final third more often, Dyson could start to cause some problems coming in from the right, like he did in pre-season when we seen him. So that's an area for me in the wide areas that we really, kind of going back to that, really need to try and narrow down and get a better plan of what we're doing, because I think that it offers so much with 3 in the middle and out wide. Kyogo loves it. So that may be an opportunity, I think, to start trying that and see how we go with Palma and Maida.
Yeah, I think on that, the subject to the Palma and Maida, I think both of them, positive thing with doing that is it gives you 2 totally different options on either side. Like you've said, Palma will just like to cut in and have a pop at goal or float across into the box, make a pass. Whereas Dyson in the right, you'd like to think he'll get to the byline, use his pace, beat a man. So it's two completely different options and dynamics, which is totally positive for us, and that will only bode well. And then once you've got your guys like Yang coming off the bench, Tillio when he's eventually fit and makes his debut, Leo Labada, obviously albeit that'll be in a number of months away, but you're looking at having quite strong depth in the wide areas, so it's just about Brendan and these guys knowing how to utilise each player to the best of their ability and to their strengths, and hopefully getting them at their peak and playing well and doing well, which I think we've seen from Dyson last night in Palma when he come off the bench.
It also has an impact on the fullbacks though, because I felt like Taylor and Yang it wasn't clicking, at times, and there was a couple of times where passes were missed over in the wide area, the ball was going out. There's we know in the past with our fullbacks from the last couple of seasons and the wingmen, they were just great relationships. So I think we need to try and build that again with whoever it may be, Johnston and Dyson, and then whoever it may be with Taylor. We need to sort of try and build those relationships because so much happens on that left and right hand side that it needs to click. We can talk about defensive mistakes and Carter Vickers and not having enough depth in there, and we've got loads of wide players. I just think nowadays it's such an important part of the team, and we've been blessed the last couple of years, especially with really good wingers. And of course, Abada's still there to come back. I hope that we can find somebody to click in there because it offers so much to the team having really good positive wide players and their distribution for Kyogo. He thrives on it. And again, last night we started to see him drop back a couple of times because he wanted to get involved, because more often than not in the past, he knows if he plays in the last man or he's floating in that 18-yard box that he's going to get the delivery, and he's not really been getting it. So we don't want to see Kyogo coming back all the way, all the time. We want to see him in the box doing what he done for the goal, which was tremendous, and hats off to him for getting that first goal. Hopefully now he can kick on. I felt tired a little bit towards the end. I got a couple of messages with why is Kyogo coming off, we need a goal. I thought he looked tired. I thought he looked a bit jaded because he's done a lot of running, and he's trying to make things happen with the press, and he needs those two guys on the other side of him to help out and be delivering for him. So again, it's the area for me that I think we need to nail down to make sure that we're doing the best for Kyogo to give him the service he deserves.
Yeah, I would echo that. I think with Kyogo, just on a personal note, for him, it was great to see him score in the Champions League for the first time. I think he was posting his social media pages today, like it was a big landmark for him to get that goal. Obviously, I don't know if he barely played in the competition last season because of injury and the like, but it was good to see him score in the Champions League for the first time, and I think he enjoyed it. So, on a personal note for him, that was great to see. But he did tire as the game went on. He became less kind of not less involved, but you could tell by just his body language and things like that. And then obviously he brings Big O on. He's a totally different striker to Kyogo. Totally different physique and what he brings to the team. But obviously he didn't do much when he came on. But yeah, the personal note, brilliant for Kyogo to score in the Champions League. And hopefully it's the first of many, and could certainly do with some of his goals in the group stage going forward.
Yeah, I think he'll be one of the most frustrated players in this match because he didn't get that many chances to take that many shots, really. And the amount of this season in particular, he's probably one of the most frustrated players in the squad at the moment because he's always available, he's always making runs, and one of the things we're often bemoaning at the end of games is how very infrequently we're actually finding him, or we're even trying to find him. So again, I think it was great for him to get that, break that ceiling, as it were, get the first goal. And as soon as that went in, I thought, here we go, man. There could be a couple from the wee man if he keeps going. And that's definitely a disappointment that we never got a few more opportunities for him in the game. But yeah, I think as the game wears on as well, the subs played a big part for both teams. They were putting more and more pace on, and it just kind of changes the whole kind of balance of our team as well, as we are taking off guys like Hatate and, Yang and one or two others,
Yeah, I think if we're going to delve a wee bit deeper, I suppose, into the disappointment of it is if you take Kyogo off, I think at this level, coming on, he's an option maybe if you're actually 2-1 up. If you're 2-1 up and we're needing to knock balls into the corner and ruffle them up a wee bit, then fine. If we're going and chasing the game and trying to win the game, I think seeing Kyogo coming off and No coming on, it automatically we drop 5 yards. He doesn't get as high up the park. Whether there was an option to have put Dyson through the middle and maybe swap things about and get somebody else on the right hand side, because again, at this level, I think it's the squad, the subs. They brought on Pedro. I mean, they bring on a multiple Champions League winner, title winner. He's at the tail end of his career, perhaps, but look at what he can still do. And I suppose, the disappointment of it all is when we look at the bench and, the winger option was Mikey Johnson. And no harm to the guy, but we've talked about Mikey Johnson for so long. The fact that he's in the squad in Jamesy Forrest, this we're reaping what we sow. If we're going to go right deep into it in terms of that squad depth and quality, we can't, back in the day bringing Giakoumakis on, and he obviously played in the Champions League and scored. Bringing somebody like him off the bench at that stage, you'd be going, right, we've got a goal scoring threat here. Let's go and do it. Bringing O on was it slowed the game right down for us, and then unfortunately at that level we need somebody to come on that can be a match winner.
I feel like the thing with O, I think he's played like something like, including I don't know if this was before last night, he'd played like 72 minutes of football for us this season. Not match sharp at all, you would say. Playing that amount of football, Kyogo's obviously been the sole number 9 throughout the season so far. I do think the big man has a lot of potential and he has bags of it, but he's just, like you said, on a night like that, when you're chasing a winner and it's one each and it's the last 15 and the pressure's high, the tension's high. We were in that at that moment, despite losing the match, we were the team in the ascendancy. We were creating the chances. We were beginning to dominate the match. I could see the thinking from behind it from Brendan, obviously, for starting to push and continually go for that goal when you're whipping balls into the box in the dying embers and he's up there. You never know what he can do. He's a threat. He showed it last season. Towards the end of last season, I think it went on a good run of form, and his goals to minute ratio, he's been at Celtic, is quite a good one. I think it's over like 80 minutes or just over 80 minutes goals per game. I don't know the accuracies of that, but he is a player with high potential. But at the minute, is he a player you should be putting in a big game like that? Probably not. But can he do it? Would you be confident of putting him on or starting him at the weekend against Kilmarnock? He probably could do the job for us. With the opportunities we create, he would definitely take one or two. But against Lazio, home in the Champions League, when you're seeking a goal and needing to get a win after a poor start to the campaign, taking off your top goal scorer and the man who scored the only goal of the game for a player like O's, I don't think many of the fans were off their seats and cheering when the number 19 came on. But he has a player with good potential in it. I think maybe 2 or 3 years' time down the line, once he's maybe even a year or two, once he's developed further, he has a player who could be coming on in that game and making a difference. But just not last night when he's literally joined the club. I think it was last January, or it might have been last summer. So he's only been here a year so far, and he is still young and he's 22 years of age. So I think he's still got a lot of room to develop. But at the same time, he's probably just not at Champions League level at the minute.
Yeah. I think it's maybe one of those ones where at that point in the game especially, we're almost painted into a corner with the substitutes we can make in terms of who could come off. But I think when you've got Palma on, who is definitely like it's clear that the guy can strike a ball extremely well, can pass very well, can shoot very well, and can do all that kind of stuff. So if you've brought him on and he's looking lively and he's swinging balls in, then you want a guy like, for me, O is a bit more battering ram. He is a bit more of a bull in a china shop. He's not quite got that Giakoumakis was a bit of chaos as well, but he was clinical, and he's a seasoned pro. He was 27, 28 or whatever. So I don't mind though in that respect, but I think, it's maybe the last sub of the game. We've brought on Vickers, we've brought on Bernardo, we've brought on Palma at that stage. So I don't know, because I think really you can only take off Kyogo or Dyson, and Dyson does the Duracell battery doesn't stop. So maybe a wee bit of the cotton wool for the last 5 minutes on Kyogo's maybe the one there. But I'm with you. Like if that's in another situation where Kyogo isn't available or something, I don't know, then like you can see it's not quite the same game we get from O, even in that even at home in the ascendancy of the match, pushing it go for something. So yeah, I'm with you. And again, it's similar. I'm getting deja vu to Kyogo and Giakoumakis in the sense of we have to see them play together at some point. Surely we've got to have that thrown the kitchen sink at it situation where they are on the pitch together, and how do we make that work? which is why I then come to the thought of in the match, we've already made 3 or 4 subs, actually making that happen. How likely is it? You're then taking off O'Reilly or McGregor in midfield maybe, or somebody in defence again, and then you're just asking for trouble, which ended up coming our way anyway, obviously. But yeah.
Aye, so it's just trying to take the positives out of it for it. But we've got two very tough games in the double header. We're Feyenoord, I think, with the team we thought we really could take points off them. Lazio, I think they've started really poorly. We could have taken points off them and really should have last night. We're coming up against a real seasoned team. In Atletico, they seem to have just got their mojo back slightly. And I think they won't be phased by the atmosphere, certainly. They'll thrive on it. Simeone loves a battle. He loves the noise. He loves all that. So, and they seem to be more fluid in terms of how they play these days. They have kind of pushed on a little bit, and they're conceding goals, which is unlike them. It's then do we make any changes to try and combat it in the next couple of games, because these are really, really tough games. The double header against Atletico, they'll be exciting, but it'll be interesting to see what kind of state we're in come those games. To a couple of players, but Carter Vickers will be back. I think big man has been so reliable for us. It's really hard to get upset at him. But he was at fault for the goal, and should he have come on? I don't think Nat Phillips has got 90 minutes in him by the looks of it. I think he's been hooked, or he's been he's not started every game. He's an emergency centre half. Carter Vickers will start and maybe not play 90 minutes on Saturday. We can forgive the big man. He's been superb for us. He should hopefully be back and at his best for these next games, where we're really going to need him against a tough team.
Yeah, I think looking forward, Atletico Madrid, the challenge they're going to face. We're talking about the back-to-back games against them. Obviously, the second one's away to Madrid, and then after that, you've got to go to Rome. So it's going to be really tough for us the next 3 games. In fact, if you want any chance of any sort of European progression, you probably need to take something from one of the 3 games, if not 2 of the 3 games, whether it be a point, whether it be a lucky win, whether it be 2 draws. Doing so will be tough, but I think last night we proved that we can compete at the level. I think as much as Lazio were in poor form going into the match, 16th in Serie A, etc., they're a quality European side. They consistently compete, whether it be in Europa League, Europa Conference League, consistently do well. And like you've said, when they're bringing off the bench players like Pedro, has won the World Cup with Spain, won the Euros with Spain, won the Champions League countless times, and Matteo Guendouzi, who was once a future star over at Arsenal, he set up the goal. Luis Alberto, you've got numerous big names in that team, Ciro Immobile, so they're going to provide that quality. And the fact we competed against that team for over 90 minutes throughout the whole match, we were, particularly towards the end, I've said it before, we were dominating the game, and we were the ones that were pushing. And it was just the way events unfolded at the end was just so painful for everyone inside the stadium. Obviously, the goal, you're just that sheer elation when that went in. I think Palmer's celebration summed up how everyone was feeling. And then you just see the VAR just sucked everything out. It was a bit like when Man City, I think it was a Champions League final they were playing in, and Raheem Sterling scored what he thought to be the winner, and then it ends up getting ruled out off VAR. It's a bit like that, but we can compete against Lazio at least. I think it will be tough going to Atletico at home. We'll need the atmosphere again. But just commenting on the atmosphere, I feel like the "You'll Never Walk Alone" before the game was no offense to the girl whatsoever that was singing. She's a good singer and she was good, but I feel like that sucked the atmosphere out a bit. I feel like before it, they should just let the atmosphere itself naturally build up rather than having a singer on. Try to perform and get it going. I feel they should just let the fans naturally build it up, because when you look at Celtic Park over the past decade, 2 decades, 3 decades even, it's been an absolute fortress in Europe. Maybe not the last 10 years, but since then you've not had singers on or anything. If it's not broken, don't fix it. Except that's what they've been trying to do. So I wouldn't have anyone for the Atletico game. I would just have it walk on coming out through the speakers with Jerry and the Pacemakers. And turn it off for that second verse, and you hear the whole crowd themselves singing it, which we didn't hear last night, which was a bit disappointing. But That's just a point. Personally, that's my opinion there. But Atletico is going to be tough. Two games against them. Diego Simeone, like you've said, he loves a bit of a tough. He loves just getting in about it, and I think Celtic Park away will suit him down to the ground. Him and his team. They have started to play more expansive football. 3-2 against Feyenoord the other night. That's probably a good result for us. Keeps Feyenoord only on the 3 points, and we just need to hope over the course of the next 3 match days they don't pick up anything. I feel like they are capable of doing so against Lazio though, which could be a concern for us. But we just need to focus on ourselves and try and get some points on the board, because at the minute that is absolutely pivotal. If we can get something at Atletico at home, it probably takes the pressure off us somewhat, going away to Madrid and going away to Rome. So we must get a result there. You just don't want to let this group stage go on and keep going until the final match day when it's a dead rubber, a bit like Shakhtar at home last season. That's the last thing you want. So let's just hope the boys can put in another performance like they did against Lazio, because on another night, if Maeda doesn't get a skim of his lace on that ball, on another night we're winning that game 2-1. So it's just fine margins in football. We've seen it at the weekend. We were on the positive end of it. O'Reilly scored, and then it just shows how cruel football can be at times. And we're on the receiving end a couple of days later. So it is brutal at times, but we'll hopefully we can rally. And a game against Kilmarnock at home at the weekend provides us with the ideal chance to get back on track.
There's already been a couple of Motherwell fans who were quiet at the weekend, saying, "Oh, how do you like them apples?" We kind of got a taste of our own medicine. We've grew up watching Celtic with these last minute famous winners in Europe as well, and it was a signal. It was a real signal. So we've got a chance on Saturday to bounce back. A couple of players have got a chance to come in and show they should be in the team for the next set of European games. And we just need to keep going. Just keep the head up and keep going. We've had disappointment. We've been here before so many times. The stats are quite damning again. They're getting brought up today. Brendan Rodgers, officially the worst Champions League manager of over 20 games. He won't like that. He'll take that very personally. The club haven't won a home Champions League game for 10 years. My memories of going to European nights are beating the Giants, Juventus, Lyon, Man United, and the famous night against Barcelona. They were the famous nights, and kind of alluding back to what you were saying, Josh, I think we've unfortunately had that period in Europe where it was under Ronnie and a few other ones that were like, kind of were going into games not expecting to win, and that shouldn't be the case. That shouldn't be the case in Europe at Celtic Park. We should be getting into these games, putting the fear of God into these teams that they don't want to be there, and part of that is the atmosphere. It's not the reason we lost the game last night. It's not the reason we've lost a few games or not won a game, but potentially you could dip into that and say teams were scared to come to Celtic Park. Like, really didn't want to come and play us. They commented on it, the famous atmosphere. And, Messi the other day talking about, a godlike performance from Fraser Forster. And we've not seen those games. We had a little taste of it against Man City, and another time, Real Madrid for the first 20 minutes, and then they decided they needed to get into second gear. We need to get the place rocking again, and things like the club not allowing tifos and the Ryan Downey, listen, great. We've got Celtic supporters out there that are carrying the brand around, but last night should have been a game where the Lazio were running scared, and that after that goal should have been really worrying about getting a result, and it's just the same old. Unfortunately, I think we need to get a win. We need to get a victory, or even a point of, last night I think the fans would have applauded the team off the park really after a point, but to get a victory against Atletico, it could be a real turning point for us in Europe, but we've said that so many times.
That's it. And I think it's one of those ones when, the group itself, when it was drawn, we're talking about the games that are still yet to come, we had a bit of optimism with this group, and I think there's still a shred of it that still remains somewhere, and if we go looking for it, we can find it. But and I think, again, it's one of those ones where if you were going to do anything in this group, it's really finishing third, it's really outdoing Feyenoord, and then that really comes down to the head-to-head. We all know how that's sitting, but outside of that, it's always going to be where we're going to have to do this the hard way and go and get some points where we're not fancied to get some points to really make the difference and finish third, or if a miracle would have happened, it's obviously not really on the cards anymore to do better than that, then brilliant. So I think like Atletico Madrid in the last 2 games, obviously Lazio got the last minute winner in the first game, and then Feyenoord, the game was a bit topsy-turvy, but they've not, they've not been head and shoulders above anyone else in this group that we've also played and we've been on par with, if not, in our opinion, a wee bit better than. So, bring Madrid on, I say, and I know I follow Madrid quite closely. They are stricken with injuries. They're now like stricken. So there's an international break coming. I don't really know how long everyone's out for individually. So they're in bits. They're not that well oiled at the moment. If we can keep ourselves going, smash Kilmarnock at the weekend, have a good break. I'm up for it.
Definitely.
Just give it a go. I suppose we've nothing to lose. We're only 2 games in. I think the next game is the most important one, as they always say. So that's a night where I think it needs to be where you just have a go at them. Have a go at them and see if it ends up a defeat. Then regardless of what Atletico team's out, they've got world-class players. So let's give it a go. With the added advantage of being at home again. Let's go all out and try and get the 3 points, because it would just lift everyone. See if we ultimately don't qualify, but we can turn around and say, look, we've broken that hoodoo again of not winning, and let's just go and have a right good go and give the fans a night where they can. The young kids that have been going for the last 10 years haven't seen us, win many games in Europe. And say I grew up going and expecting us to win in Europe at home, Seville run and all that as well. So let's have a go at it. Don't let the heads go down after last night. I'm sure they would have been feeling really low. Matt O'Reilly said that in his interview last night. But they need to keep the head up and just have a right good go at it again and see what happens.
Yeah, definitely. Atletico, we know the challenge they're going to present. And guys like Antoine Griezmann running about for them. They've got top class players, international players. They've been to the final of the competition twice, just under a decade ago. The calibre of them in European football is immense. Diego Simeone is a top manager who's done it for a number of years there. But I feel like if Celtic can rally, and once guys get fit again, like Carter Vickers will probably have played 2 games and he'll be ready to start that match, which is positive for us at the back. Then more guys coming in and continuing to gain match sharpness, like Hatate will hopefully be up to full speed by then, once he gets hopefully more minutes against Kelly at the weekend. Then when we come back, I think we're it's either Easter Road or Tynecastle. We've got one of the two. So hopefully more minutes there. But no, I think everything in Europe, at least leading to this Atletico game now, you talked about that record over the past decade in Europe. I've been a season ticket holder for 10 years, and I think I've seen us win 1 Champions League match. That was against Ajax. Beram Kayal scored, and James Forrest scored a penalty as well. So that's the only Champions League win I've seen at Celtic Park. I've also seen the Man City game. So hopefully we can get one against Atletico. I think for the fans, we haven't had a big shock over anyone in a number of years. At least the Lazio game a couple of years ago under Neil Lennon, you could put that down as one. But I feel like a big shock against a big European team, because I don't think it would have been a shock if we won the game last night, in honesty. I feel like we were more than a match from even going into it. So now it will be Atletico. If we won that game, it would be a massive shock. We can dream, suppose we'll dream, but Brendan and his team will be down to earth and ready for the challenge.
Making us feel quite old, Josh, if you've only seen that. If that's the one game you've seen was winning Champions League, those starry nights against Juventus, that's the one that sticks out in my mind. Was that night was phenomenal. That will in some ways it potentially not eclipsed the Barcelona game, but it was just, Quinn, you'll remember then, it was after the first game with the disastrous penalty decision. It was a bit of sweet revenge. It was a phenomenal night, absolutely bouncing. Juventus didn't want to be there that night. Quite famous. I think Davids was floating about the squad, and I think he just thought, I'm not having this tonight, and decided I think he didn't want to play. And that was one of the best nights I've ever experienced. Was, because we had a taste for the Champions League. We were there. We were in with the big boys. We'd earned the right to be there after not being there for a long time. And maybe these players need to start thinking about how we have deserved to get there. There's so many years we failed to get there. We were a failure of a team not getting to the Champions League. they've earned the right. They won the league. They got there. They didn't have to go through qualifiers. So I think we need to see that belief from the team as well, aside from the tactical side of it and who plays. I want to see that belief. I want to see guys getting on the ball and making things happen and getting the fans off their seat and give us a night to remember. Last night could have been that if it was VAR, that pesky VAR. If it wasn't for that, it would have been that night, but they got a sniff of it for 30 seconds, a minute and a half. Sniff of what it's like to go and score a winning goal in a Champions League night. So try and bottle that feeling rather than the feeling of a defeat and take that into the Atletico game.
That's it, exactly. And I think Kilmarnock is probably a good anecdote for us afterwards. Don't know if Derek McInnes is doing an audition perhaps in this match, so maybe he's got an extra bit of motivation. You never know. But yeah, like what you expect with Kilmarnock, they're going to give you the pitch, they're going to give you possession, and they're going to just make us work for it. And then they're going to make sure that you don't leave the door open at the back either. So I think we know what we're getting when we rock into the weekend. I don't expect there to be much change to the team. Again, I think everyone's expecting probably Palma comes in at this one. I don't think Vickers comes in to start this. I think we're going to see Lagerbielke start and Vickers maybe get 30 again at the back end of this because he is just ahead of schedule, like against Lazio, fair enough, because Phillips doesn't seem to have 90 minutes in him. Lagerbielke suspended, fine. But against Kelly, Lagerbielke is fine. Like if he's ahead of schedule, do you need to rush him? Give him another 30 minutes is what I think might be the protocol, but maybe I'm wrong. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think Gustav obviously didn't play during the week, so he'll be eager to get some minutes again. The players will have a point to prove. Remember, Kilmarnock defeated us in the League Cup, so players will want to get back at that and put that record straight. Because we know every single Celtic player has a winning mentality, and they want to get the revenge on Kelly. But like you said, we know what they're going to do. They're going to do what the majority of Scottish Premiership sides do, and they come to Celtic Park, sit and make it tough for us. It's just us trying to unlock that defence. I think we have the capabilities to do so. I would probably agree with you. Probably Lagerbielke starts with Scales. You don't want to risk Vickers, particularly when he's coming back early. Don't want to play to his calibre to be getting another nasty knock. So hopefully, if he plays 30 minutes here, maybe even come on at half time, and then give him a good period of more rehabilitation over the international break and get him starting that first game back in preparation for Atletico Madrid at home. So that'll probably be that Lagerbielke and Scales, probably the centre half pairing. I would think Palma probably comes in the left as well. Apart from that, I can't really see too many changes. I'd like to see Paulo Bernardo get some more minutes, maybe 30 minutes more over the 15, whatever he got last night. That'd be good to see because I'm a fan of him so far. I feel like that's probably the only changes you're looking at in the lineup. But this again, we should be getting 3 points from him. So if we win it, we go 10 points clear of our City rivals for Saturday night and pile all the pressure. And then for Sunday, so that's a chance you want to take as well.
Yeah, so pile the pressure on St Mirren, keep winning.
Definitely.
To everyone that's going to the match, travel safe. Good luck. Hail. Matthew, Josh, been an absolute pleasure, guys. Hail.
Thanks for having me back on. Really enjoyed it.
Cheers, guys. Hail, and good luck if you're going to the game at the weekend.